Oh, Daniel, that sounds like you had quite the experience in college.
Yeah.
To be honest with both of you, it sounds like you both went through some very high highs and some very low lows. So I guess my next question is, how do you guys deal with that? Obviously, the high highs are easy to deal with because that's when everybody loves you. Like you mentioned, 4,000 people running onto the field to just hug you because you were the man in that game.
Mm.
But what about the low lows? How do you deal with those? How do you cope with adversity, and especially how do you get out of that?
Yeah.
In my case, I would say it was a big difference from freshman year to fifth year. Freshman year, as I talked a little bit before, and now I will dig more into it. I was kind of lost a little bit in the worldly things. In lost in last, how people say. Just and of course partying, bad diets, just looking for that fame. Then just a little bit more selfish too. So when things were bad, I actually didn't know how to deal with them, and I had the mentality of I didn't believe in mental health neither. I believe that mental health was just a myth that men were not supposed to talk about that or mental health didn't exist. Because you should be strong enough just to deal with whatever you have in your life, or you just have everything in your life. Why are you suffering about that single thing? Which on the one hand I agree because we are very lucky and I have health, I have enough money, I have family, I have friendship. So of course it's good to put things in perspective, but on the other hand I think it's also a good thing to address any single thing, because that if not they accumulate your life, and then you one day you explode. So for example, my freshman year I didn't have confidence, and at one point I was okay. I came here to play soccer from an academy, and now I don't know how to play soccer. I don't know. I remember I used to watch my old videos and playing with Deportivo, and I'm like, man,
What happened?
Where's that player now?
Where is that player? It's not more about who is a player. It was everything. I didn't remember. I was kind of okay, stuck. In the present. I remember also. Man, sometimes I was starting, but I remember one time in I think it was in Stanford, playing versus Stanford. The day before playing a practice, I had a table practice, no confidence. I didn't want the ball. I remember in the middle of the practice, I just started crying. He was like, man, I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on. I don't want the ball. I don't want to play soccer. What I'm doing here. That
Yeah.
was very tough, and at the same time, I wasn't talking to anyone about it. Like, okay, this is Javier Armas. I don't know. I was supposed to be an important player in the field, and now look where I am right now. So that was very tough. I remember in the games too. I didn't want the ball. I wasn't brave. I just
Yeah.
it wasn't me. So that was tough moments. But uh, as I said before too, I always welcome adversity, and I think that helped me a lot. So I just try to fight through it, but I kind of was by myself. I kind of didn't have anyone or anything like that. Now the big difference is that I have God with me, so that for me that changed me a lot, and that released a lot of pressure. So everything I know I'm not alone now. So everything that when something happens, bad moments or good moments, I just go to Him. I ask for help. I pray a lot, and that changed me as a man.
Yeah.
What about you, Daniel?
I mean, you bring up a lot of great points, and I think, like you said, the highs are great. You feel awesome. You're on top of the world. You're looking forward to that next game you want to play just because of the last one, or even the last training session was so good that you're looking forward to the next one. But when the lows hit, they hit, and you get caught in a funk. And like you said, there's plenty of times in practice or even in games where I didn't want the ball. I didn't want anything to do with it. I do a little fake check in. Oh, pass me the ball. No, I don't want it. Like, I was so nervous. I was so anxious, and it comes from just not being confident in yourself and not believing in yourself. And it was just a terrible time because, like you said, you look back at those times when you were the best player in the field. You're looking. You were so happy. You were doing things that you haven't done in a while just because you were confident. And confidence is the most important thing. And I just remember, actually, this happened probably a couple times. I think my junior year, when I stopped I just was playing so bad, um, and I stopped playing. Like I wasn't really going to the game as much, but I remember the first time I didn't start. It's weird because I felt a relief on my shoulders. I felt the relief. It's like, all right, good. Like I don't even, like I'm so anxious before games, and you're so worried, worked up all day. Waiting till a game at 7 o'clock at night when you don't start. You kind of get a bit of a relief. It's like, oh, I can eat as much as I want at the pregame meal now. I don't have to worry. I'm going to sit on the bench. I can watch the game and then come in the game and try to make a difference. But I felt like a relief, and that's not something I ever want to feel because I was so pissed that I wasn't starting, but I was also so happy that I wasn't starting. Like it was like a mix of both. And it just was definitely not good for my mental health. And I think that goes into then later my junior year in the spring with the mental health stuff. You talked about that a little bit, where I didn't think that going to a sports psychologist was important, or I didn't need to see one because why do I need to see one? I'm fine. I can talk to myself. I don't need to talk to somebody else about my problems. I always thought my problems were my problems, and I didn't need to talk to anybody else. And people had recommended the sports psychologist, and I was like, all right, whatever. I'll give it a shot. See how it goes. So I gave it a shot, and I loved it. Great. Like I don't know how much it helped me, but I think the fact that I was just able to open up about my problems, and you had somebody who cared, somebody who listened to you. And I would always tell him, I'd be like, hey, like I know my problems aren't really that big. I'm talking to you about soccer, and there's other people who are telling you about, just way bigger problems than I have. And he just reminded me that yes, although other people have big problems and they might be bigger than yours, you still have your own problems, and you have to work on those first so that you can help others with their problems. You know what I mean? And I think that was a great lesson that I learned, that you still, although your problems may not seem that big in the moment, they're still big to you. And when they matter to you, that's the only thing you can really worry about right now is yourself at that point. You have to try to fix yourself before you can help fix others. And I learned a lot through that, just going through a 6-month injury period now in this spring where I wasn't playing. I felt like a fraud. I was like, I'm never going to make it. What am I doing right now? I can't get better for 6 months, 6 months off. This is the longest I've ever been out. I didn't think my injury was ever going to get better, especially at this osteoitis pubis. One day you could be feeling on top of the world, and the next day you could be back in the dumps, just not being able to move. And it was like what's going on? Is this ever going to go away? And just it was a long period of that being mentally down, mentally struggling, and your teammates can see it. I actually, my friends, we talk about it now, we laugh about it, but there was a period where I didn't talk to anybody on my team. And as you guys know, I'm very loud and talkative, and I love to talk a lot and be annoying. That's like my thing. But so when I'm not talking, or I'm not, everybody knows what's up. Like when I don't go in the locker room and I just walk straight to my locker, and I'm not the one laughing and starting all the jokes or getting made fun of in the locker room, then that's a problem. That's what it was. Everybody noticed it. My coaches were like, "What's going on?" Like you see it immediately in practice. Yeah. The guys I live with, the soccer guys, they would always just be like, "Bro, like what was wrong with you for those like couple months? Like you were just so out of it." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. But I learned a lot from that time. I learned to stay mentally strong. I learned a lot of little things that we talk about this a little bit, and you can jump in here when you want. Is that we both don't put our identity in soccer anymore." And not that to say that we don't care about soccer, but soccer isn't your only identity. And when you put soccer as your only identity, when soccer's not going well, you crumble as a person, because that is you. Soccer is you. And when that doesn't go well, you crumble. And you said you put yours in faith, and I've started to put mine in faith a little bit as well, but just other things in general too. And now when something happens in soccer, it's like whatever, we're on to the next one. You can't worry about those past mistakes.
It affects you, but not as much as before.
No, for sure, it still affects you. It's not that we don't care. Like, not to say we don't care about soccer, because that's obviously our passion and what we love. But there's bigger things that we can look into, and you learn that with time and age. I mean, it comes with maturity. And I'd say that we've matured a good bit. And college was a huge help for me, because I was, like I said before, I wasn't ready for the professional game. So that junior year was just huge for me in terms of mental. And I went into senior year, played really great, and then got lucky enough to make it here. So
I want to dive a little bit deeper into like my change of mindset and philosophies, because as I said, my freshman year I didn't have nothing, so I didn't know how to react. I think the sophomore and kind of junior year, I follow a lot of the Stoicism philosophy, which is kind of control the controllables. Just focus on the things you can control. Yeah. I think that helped me a lot too. That philosophy helped me a lot in terms of, okay, I go to practice and I just focus on be the best version of myself. I don't focus on what the coach think about me. I don't focus on what
you stop trying to impress other people.
Yeah. That's the thing. Stop trying to impress other people. And that's my message about other young players to just focus on the things you can control. And then the last year, I went one step farther away, and then it's like, for me, it's God, Jesus, and my faith. That's now I know that I focus on things I can control, and also I know that I can ask for things, and that the power of prayer is very very powerful. And that, as you said, of course, the sports psychology is great, and if you need one, of course, go for it, because I think that helps you a lot. But I think also another thing you should know is that God is always there for you.
Yeah.
And then you don't need to go anywhere. You can just be at your house and talk to Him and ask for things. And I recommend everyone to try, because that I think that's a relation that helps you a lot. That helps you a lot, and I think of course, he listens.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like there's a few takeaways from this, right? Like you said, control the controllables,
Mm-hmm.
seek help, whether it is to
Yeah,
a higher
don't be
entity,
afraid
to
to seek
God,
help.
or to somebody external.
Yeah.
A lot of people in your environment can help you, even if it's just to have a pair of ears to listen to your mouth.
Even to that, sorry, just to jump in. Even teammates, people think that they can't talk to their teammates. Like I would love for any of the younger guys on my team to come and talk to me. Anybody who needs it, older or younger, I don't care. Like, come have a conversation with me. Maybe I don't give you the wisdom you need, but just even talking about it.
Yeah.
And people don't think that you can go to your teammates because you don't want them to see that you have problems, or you want your teammates to think the most of you. But that's what teammates are for. We're here to help each other, and if a teammate's not there to help you, then he's not a good teammate. That's just simple as that.
And also the other way, if you see someone is struggling,
Yes.
or
Definitely.
quiet or something like that, just deep into their lives.
Ask them to get lunch
ask
or
them,
something.
go for it. Don't, because sometimes men are just, hey, how are
Yeah,
you? Good,
exactly.
then good. That's
you,
it.
you might think that they seem unapproachable just because of their attitude, but maybe they're waiting for somebody to approach them. Sometimes people don't show it, but they would love for you to just come over and be like, hey, you all good? Yeah, they might say, yeah, I'm fine, but it's like, all right, let's get lunch sometime, and I want to catch up, and that's it. Like a little
Maybe the first
conversation.
time doesn't work, but keep trying, and next one just maybe works.
Yeah. And I had a teammate like that. I was lucky enough to have a teammate like that. My friend Eno, shout out to Eno. Great guy. We used to meet probably once every 1 week or 2 weeks, because we were both in a similar situation, where we went from playing to not playing and struggling with just mental stuff. Like, we were mentally battling, but we had each other. We found each other. We found that we were both struggling, and before every game, even there was games where he wasn't starting and I was starting, and like he would come up to me after the game because he was like, "Hey man, you were the only one who came up to me and said, like, keep your head up. You're gonna make the difference in the game." And he made the difference. And he's like, "I appreciate that. Like, that goes a long way." And like, so those little comments go a long way to people. I mean, it shows that you care about them. You're looking after them, and people love to know that they're being cared for. So just, if you need to find a teammate, a friend, a family member, whatever, somebody to speak with and just have a conversation, it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know you guys were both talking about also how when you're in those lows and you think the world is falling apart, having a little bit of perspective in terms of your identity is not just soccer. You're, first of all, you're a person, and then one of your hobbies, or for you guys, your profession is being a soccer player, but that's at most 1/3 of your day.
Yeah.
So it's never going to be more than like 30% of who you are. So I don't know, tell us a little bit more about that, because I know there's people out there that struggle with thinking like, oh, if I don't make it in soccer, like my life is going to fall apart.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing I say to young players, for example, the freshmen last year, or any young player that is out there, is just don't just think your identity is in soccer, of course, because it ruins your day if something goes bad. It's just okay. Just want to be a professional soccer player. Okay, but why? What about your family? What about how you're eating? What about your health? What about friends? What about other things? Helping others. Of course, being a professional soccer player is one of the best professions or jobs out there. But I think the best thing you should do is treat it as that, as a professional, as a hobby, or as something that you love. Not as, don't put your identity there, because your identity is not in soccer, it's not in your job, or it's not in school, or it's not in anything like that. It's higher than that. I would say your identity, of course, is in God and in Jesus Christ, but and that, as I said before, release and puts away a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I think to that too, like, we don't want people to get confused that by not putting our identity doesn't mean you don't have to make sacrifices and not work hard. We've made plenty of sacrifices in our life to get where we want to be. Everybody does in any profession they want to make it to. You have to make those sacrifices, and you have to work hard. We've worked hard, just as anybody else who's made it in this profession. And just because we're saying you don't have to put your identity in it doesn't mean like, oh, okay, like I can go hang out with my friends and drink the night before a game because why do I care about soccer? That's not what we're saying. We're saying that there are other things outside of soccer, and don't let that 2 second bad pass now affect however many seconds there are in a day. You know what I mean?
And that's what you said. I just want to interrupt you because that doesn't mean those things don't affect us anymore. Of course, those things affect us, but for less period of time.
Yes.
Just for instead of 2 days, for me, just affects me. Okay, 5 minutes. I'm at 5 minutes, and
even
then I
that,
move on.
even the 90 minutes, but even then, you can't let it affect you. That 5 second bad pass for those 90 minutes. You still have a whole long game to play, and after the game's over, what can you do to change it? Maybe you can go work harder at the training ground the next day, or even after the game if you want to go get more fitness in or go or play a little bit more. Yeah, but these things they happen and they're mistakes, and you just gotta let them go. And it's like anything in life, and obviously we still struggle with that. We work on it every day. Like we work on trying not to get frustrated with things, and when things happen, we tell each other it's like, hey, you just got frustrated there. Like you're like all right, like you're right. I said I was gonna work on that. So it's like little things of just trying to work on them, and these aren't overnight successes. These aren't miracle drugs where it's where you tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna be happy in this practice, and you make a mistake, and you're like, oh, that's fine, let's go. Like it's got to become something that is repetitive, and just you keep on repeating it to yourself. And actually, when I was little, I used to have a rubber band, and anytime I had a negative thought, this probably wasn't healthy. I had a negative thought, I'd shoot it and let it hit my wrist, and I'd be like, no, don't do that, don't do that again. My mom told me to do that, so I was like, sure, I'll try it. I tried it, and you stop thinking negative thoughts when you hurt yourself. But no, I'm kidding. No, don't do that. but yeah, I did that for a little bit. It's just the conditioning of the mind, and that was something that was just I think it was more so just makes you think about it constantly.
Yeah.
Like you're always aware, like, oh, I'm not going to say anything bad now because now I know I'm going to hit the rubber band on my wrist. So it's like you make a mistake, take a deep breath, and whatever, you're on to the next.
Yeah. It sounds like for both of you, it's a lot about being able to stay present whenever those mistakes happen, being able to stay present when there's lows, being able to stay present when there's highs, because I think a part of mental toughness is how fast can you overcome those negative inputs, those negative things that you do, like you said, that bad pass. So I don't think that's so bad of a strategy. Obviously, there's definitely better strategies, but at the end of the day, what that did for you is bring you back to the present moment.
Exactly.
Make you forget that negative instinct that happened 5, 10 seconds, minutes ago.
For sure.
And come back to the present moment and focus on what you can do. So coming back to what you said, control the controllers. What can you control? The present moment, not the past and the past that you missed, but not also thinking about having to make up for it. Just making sure that the next action that you do is the best action that you can do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what both of you have in common there, which is, I think very, very interesting, because the more that you let go and realize that there's more to life, the more mentally resilient it seems that you are, because you overcome that negative stuff much faster, right? So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.